Nobody tells you this when you start investing. The thing most likely to destroy your retirement isn't a market crash. It isn't inflation. It isn't picking the wrong fund. It's the 100,000-year-old brain sitting right behind your eyes. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Most investors lose more money to their own brain than to any market crash. And it's not careless people this happens to. It's careful ones. The research that unsettled me: investors who check their portfolios most frequently underperform the ones who almost never check. Not slightly, significantly. It's not strategy. It's not knowledge. It's 100,000 years of instincts running exactly as designed in completely the wrong environment. None of this is your fault. 6 specific ways it's happening. 6 exact fixes. But before the 6 fixes, you should know who's asking you to trust this. I'm Mickey. I'm not a financial advisor. I walked away from that career because the industry stopped serving the people who needed it most. I'm a numbers person who got obsessed with one question. Why do smart, disciplined people keep making the same expensive mistakes, including me? $30,000 in consumer debt, a car I couldn't afford. In the next 15 minutes, 6 rounds, 6 specific ways your brain works against you. For each one, the exact fix. You don't need more willpower. You need to see the wiring. Let's go. Here's the question nobody asks. What if the problem isn't discipline? 100,000 years ago, your ancestors are on the African savannah. No savings accounts, no index funds. You ate when there was food. You ran when there was danger. And if you went against the group, you died. That was the software. Brilliant for surviving on a savannah. Catastrophic for managing a retirement portfolio. Of course you're responding wrong. You were never built for this. Think of it like a Formula One car, a perfect machine designed for a racetrack. Put it in a supermarket car park. Same hardware, complete liability. That's your brain in the financial market. Nothing has been updated. No patches, no bug fixes, no software update in 100,000 years. You are running ancient code in a 21st century market. Same instincts, wrong environment. And the moment you understand that, it's the software, not you. Everything changes. Glitch 1, loss aversion. The market's down 2%. You open the app. Your stomach drops before the numbers even load. That reaction costs most investors more than any crash ever will. Think of it like a smoke detector wired too tight. Portfolios down, alarm fires. Every time the alarm is real, the house is usually not burning. But you can't think clearly over a siren. Check it every day, and eventually you sell. Kahneman confirmed it. Losing hurts 2.5 times more than gaining feels good. A $10,000 drop doesn't just feel bad. Your brain registers it like a $25,000 emergency. The math stayed the same. Your nervous system did not get the memo. For retirees, it gets genuinely dangerous. The closer you are to needing the money, the louder that alarm rings. Evolution hard-coded this. It kept your ancestors alive on the savannah. Right now, it is working directly against you. The result? You move to cash at the worst possible moment. Short-term fear, slow invisible loss. Inflation eats it quietly. The market keeps going. You don't, because you're not in it. Here's what the math suggests you do about it. Fix 1. Remove the trigger. The smoke detector doesn't change, but you can stop walking past it every morning. Loss aversion fires when it gets a signal. Stop sending the signal. Set a schedule. Quarterly, maybe twice a year. Between those times, your portfolio doesn't exist. That's not avoidance. That's engineering. One down, but loss aversion isn't working alone. And this next one might be the most counterintuitive. Glitch 2, present bias. Nobody hands their wallet to a stranger on the street. But every time you choose between spending today and saving for retirement, that is exactly what your brain is asking you to do. Here's the scan that proves it. Researchers put people inside an fMRI machine. When you think about your future self, the same brain region fires as when you think about a complete stranger. not future you. A stranger, your own brain. Rude. Of course, saving is hard. The framing explains everything, which is exactly why the fix has nothing to do with discipline. Fix 2, remove the decision entirely. You can't give money to a stranger if the transfer happens before you see it. Automated contributions are the only reliable fix for present bias. You never have to choose between today and the stranger in 30 years. Set it once. Done. But here's the problem. The next glitch doesn't affect careless investors. It specifically targets the ones who think they're paying attention. Glitch 3, overconfidence. 80% of people believe they're above average drivers. Mathematically impossible. The investing version of this is much more expensive. Think about what happens every time you make a trade. Someone is on the other side. They have done their analysis. They are equally certain one of you is wrong and is usually not the algorithm. Corporate CFOs, the people specifically paid to forecast markets. Graham and Harvey tracked 15 years of their predictions. The correlation with actual outcomes below zero, worse than random guessing. And we built our retirement planning around their predictions. As a society, we all agreed on this. Together, overconfidence leads to overtrading. Barber and O'Dean tracked 66,000 real accounts. Overtrading costs between 1 and 7% per year. Compounded over 30 years, that's not a rounding error. That's your retirement. Here's what nobody tells you about that. Fix 3, own the index, not the opinion. Every one of those squares, that's a company. Index funds don't need a prediction. You're not betting that the weather forecaster gets it right. You own the whole forecast office, good calls and bad ones. Boring is the strategy, not the consolation prize. But here's the problem with that. Even when you know the strategy, this next one comes from outside. It comes from other people. Glitch 4, herding. On the savannah, if everyone runs, you run. The one who stopped to check if there was really a lion, that reflex kept your ancestors alive for 100,000 years. In financial markets, it creates the buy high, sell low trap. Robert Shiller tracked it across every major bubble. The pattern is identical every time. Crypto in 2021, property at the peak. Everyone rushing in because everyone else was. They buy high, they panic sell low, together, in remarkable synchrony. By the time the crowd arrives, the early money is already gone. Here's what stops it. Fix 4, pre-commit in writing. Write your plan before the lion appears. What you hold, why, what conditions would change it. When everyone around you is selling, your written plan says you already thought this through. That is the thing that stops the reflex. Hold. But even with a written plan, your brain has one more trick. This time it uses the very recent past against you. Glitch 5, recency bias. Your brain uses last month's weather report to forecast next decade's climate. Markets crashed last month. Another crash must be coming. Markets went up. It'll keep going forever. Until it doesn't. This is why investors consistently underperform the very funds they're in. The fund earns its return. The investor earns far less because they react to last week's noise. Kahneman called it the availability heuristic. The mind defaults to whatever it can most easily recall. And what you recall most easily is whatever just happened. And it gets worse, but only if you keep looking at the wrong window. Fix 5, zoom out. Same market, same data, different window. That crash your brain was screaming about, that tiny notch, that's it. The one that was going to make you sell everything. When you're tempted to act on what just happened, pull up a 20-year chart, not 1 month, not 6 months, 20 years. Context is the antidote to recency. Context fixes recency. But there is one final glitch, and this one is the sneakiest because it doesn't feel like a mistake. It feels like loyalty. Glitch 6, sunk cost fallacy. You're 30 minutes into a terrible film. You already pay for the ticket. Do you stay? 90 more minutes of misery. Because leaving makes the wasted ticket feel real? Of course you stay. The ticket is gone whether you stay or go. Richard Thaler won the Nobel Prize for studying exactly this. The psychological cost of abandoning something you've already paid for overrides rational decision-making every time. Investments work exactly the same way. You've lost money, so you hold. Because selling makes the loss feel real. The building is on fire. You're on level 50. The money you lost getting up here is already gone, whether you run or stay. There is only one question that cuts through it. Fix 6. Ask the right question, not how much have I lost. That's looking backwards at a ticket stub. The only question that matters. If I had cash today instead of this position, would I buy it? If the answer is no, sell. The past loss is already gone. You're only deciding what happens from today forward. 6 glitches, 6 fixes. You've seen the wiring? Now here's what it looks like when you run all of it through 1,000 market scenarios. You wouldn't fly in a plane engineers only tested in average conditions. You want 1,000 simulations. Good weather, bad, catastrophic. This is that. For your retirement. A Monte Carlo portfolio stress tester. 5,000 different market scenarios. Good years, bad years, crash years, boom years. 5,000 versions of what could actually happen. In most scenarios, you're fine. In the ones where things go wrong, it almost always involves bad returns early in retirement, combined with panic-driven decisions that lock in those losses. The maths is less scary than the feeling. The feeling is where the real risk lives. Loss aversion, recency bias, flight to cash. The real risk is the response, which is exactly why I built a tool to run those scenarios for you. The tool is in early access. Link is below. No spam, just a message when it's ready. Subscribe to see how that plays out. You were always capable of this. It was never as complicated as they made it sound. Fare thee well, and may the force be with you.